Welcome to CAS 133, Basic Computer Skills, Microsoft Office, Columbia Gorge Community College, instructor Linda Hughitt. This is going to be the video for week 3, and it's going to be a longer video, so please listen clear to the end because I am going to walk you through some stuff that's going to impact how successful you are basically for the rest of the term. Some of it will not be repeated again in additional videos, so I do suggest you get out a notebook and stop and take notes as you go through this so that you have the details, and on down a week, 2 weeks from now, when the memory doesn't remember it, you have a reference point to go back to so that you don't start making mistakes that cause you to lose grade points. So what's happening this week? Well, this week we move into the textbook, and it's going to be a big change from what we've been doing. So as you go in here, there's some information about the textbook PowerPoint. What's the difference between Office 365 and 2013? Some YouTubes about features. So here's some of the support things that you may want to look at if there's some information you don't know much about. This is also the week you're going to need Office 2013. Now, there are going to be some of you saying, yeah, but I have 2007, and do I really need to buy the new one? Or I have 2010, do I really need to buy the new one? And the answer is maybe not. But if you want to do it the easiest way possible, then the answer becomes yes. If you're willing to struggle a little bit, and actually, to be honest, maybe risk losing a point here or there, then you should maybe be able to figure it out. But it's not going to be as easy. And the further back you go, the harder it gets. So 07 will be a lot harder than 10. Oh, but I have 2003. Nope, forget it. You've gone too far. Won't work. It isn't even the same file format, so there's just no way. I have a Mac. I want to use my Mac. Well, there are Mac Office versions, and you might be successful. But again, you're going to have to look at the book, look at what your program has, and see how close you can get. If you're way off, you're not successful. If you're almost there, then there's a special form you may be able to fill out that will allow you to do it. But I've had some students that don't understand that matching does mean matching. If the theme is orange and you turn in blue, that's not matching. If the theme is a very subtle, not very wild type of theme, it's kind of laid back, subtle, and you got this bold, bright, vivid one, still not matching. Usually colors and themes are going to, at least between 2010 and 2013, are going to be the issues you have. It might be possible to do part of it at home and do the last few things at the college. That's another option. Obviously, the easiest way is to get what you need. Also know that classes are living in the sense that they do change. Things come up. Microsoft deletes a picture, something like that. And when those types of things happen, I won't be redoing the whole video. I will just be tagging on information here to basically tell you, check this out, make sure you're aware of this. This is where you'll find the video directions that you're listening to right now. These are direction updates and frequently asked question information that may have been added as we've gone throughout the terms and realized that there's some areas of confusion that are kind of common. On Wednesday night, basically, I will give you a chance for some feedback during the term, if at all possible. Understand that it has to work with my schedule, but my plan is every Wednesday night to try to take at least a few minutes and check any of the learning projects have been turned in. So there's some more information, direction summary, summary of the week, application project directions, tips and tricks that get added as we go and we find things that would help. Then these are the required for the week that you need to go through and make sure that you understand. The student data files are from the book. The book is a really convoluted and not fun site to get to. And to avoid you having to make that wonderful, well, okay, not so wonderful journey through the web to get to them, I've downloaded all the book information and uploaded it back into Moodle for you to prevent you having to do the grand hunt. That doesn't mean that everything you're going to need, this is take a note, that doesn't mean that everything you're going to need for every project is going to be supplied there. The book sometimes expects you to actually go out and figure it out. That's part of the application project parts that you'll learn more about as we go here. However, do know that everything that was provided with the book is there, so please don't email me and say, oh, by the way, I don't see such and such. Do you have it? The answer is no. If it's not there, it's not there. They didn't give it to you. And then you don't email me and say, there's stuff there I didn't use. Yep, there probably is, because some of them are for some of the projects that are on the yellow pages that we aren't going to be doing. So just know that the book has probably more than you need in some cases and less than you need in other cases, and what is there is what is there. This is the form that if you're going to be brave and try to use a different version of Microsoft Office, you're going to need to complete. And so let me just open it up and talk about it for a second. This is only for people using 2010 or 2007. So you're going to tell me the version you're using and where you ran into the problem in the textbook. So this is going to be the textbook page number. The textbook tells me to do what? I'm supposed to turn it, Oriental theme orange, and I don't have that theme. So I chose Australian orange instead. Those are not real names, just to keep you from looking for them. But whatever it is, you went in there to find something as similar. If it's orange, it still needs to be orange, those type of things. Then explain why you chose it. Now, sometimes people get into this like, I'm just going to nitpick this to death and try to drive the instructor insane. No. Then I don't grade it. It's like a forget it. Now, if you don't turn the form in, it's graded as a 2013. And if you just try to make this like, well, if I have to do it this way, I'm just going to turn this form in this way, then forget it. This is for your benefit. Make it real reasonable, real clean cut. So like, here's a suggestion. I'm using Office 2013 version of Microsoft Office. That should say 10, not 13. I'll fix that. Textbook page 23. The textbook tells me to do the following that I was not able to do. I was to use rounded, Arial, bold, MT bold. I chose to do the following instead, matching as close as possible. I use VAG, rounded, bold. The reason I chose this is because it was bold and it looked at least partly rounded. It looks a lot like the rounded Arial bold pictured in the book. That's all you have to do. We're not nitpicking it. We're picking the big things. The biggest things are going to be colors and they're going to be themes. Other than that, you should be able to match the book pretty much exactly with at least the 2010 program. Like I said, I need to fix that. I don't know. I was getting used to typing the other version, so I need to do that and fix that for you. That's basically what you're looking at for this. So if you are trying to use another version, please make sure you do the form. Otherwise, I will grade it exactly as it should be against the 2013 version. Then down here are where you're going to be submitting it and where you're going to be uploading it. So let me talk you through the book. At this point, hopefully you have a few notes. If you're using a different version, hopefully you have a note about using the different version form. Hopefully you have a note about making sure that, you're reading through all this material, looking through all this material. And then we are going to look at the actual book. Now, the way the Microsoft book is put together that you're going to be using, it starts with a bunch of information at the front that's really useful and valuable about computers in general and Windows 8 and Office 2013 and all of that. And I suggest you do, in fact, take the time to read through it. We're going to be starting in the first chapter of Office 2013. It says WD2. WD stands for Word, page 2. It says creating, formatting, and editing a Word document with a picture. It gives you an introduction. It talks to you. Then it always gives you the final copy of what it should look like. No matter what version you're using, yours should look basically like this. It should be like virtually identical like it. The only difference that may happen is, let's say if you're going down where it says explore scenic trails with breathtaking views as you travel. What if that as or the you end up on the opposite lines? What if it says as you and then travels the next first word? That is a feature from your printer. That is not something that you control. You should not be putting returns in there to try to force it to go in the right spot. You need to just let it loop, and it will loop where your printer and your resolution kind of make it loop. That isn't something I look at. What I do look at is, do you have adventure done with the right font, the right color, the right style? Do you have the picture with the correct shadowings and sizing done? And it may not give you an exact size, but obviously if we look at that, we can see, well, it's partway over the E and partway over the A. Okay, I've got a generalized idea where that should be ending. The breathtaking, is it italics? Is it colored? The off-road, is it bold? Are the bulleted lists added for those 3 items? At the bottom is the book your adventure, colored and centered. Do you have the border on the page? Those are the types of things that I'm looking for when I do it. Do you have 2 pages? Yeah, that's not a good thing. If the document's a 1-page document, you need to have it fitting on 1 page. If you have it on 2, put your cursor right after the exclamation mark and delete, and see if you can delete some extra spaces that snuck in there someplace, and it might become 1 page again. Turn over to WD4. There's a lot of things to read through here, and it's important that you read all of that. Then when you start down where it says 1, 2, 3, that's step-by-step directions you need to be looking at as you do it, and make sure you're reading each one, and reading each one completely, not skim and scan. It's going to have you entering some text. We're going to turn pages again. We're going to be over to WD6. Again, it's just kind of through here is talking you through text, those types of things. On WD9, it does talk about word wrap as you type, spell check and grammar, entering some more text. Then I get to WD12 and 13. It has a lot of writing in there. Make sure you're reading it. I don't wait until they say to save it, so if you save it sooner and you use a slightly different name, I am okay with that. A lot of times they don't get around to saving it until you're well into working on it, and if something happens, you would lose way too much material. So we're kind of continuing to bop our way through the chapter. You're reading and looking at everything, reading and looking at everything, reading and looking at everything as you're going through and doing this. If you don't find the colors you need, i.e. it says to set it as, like say dark green, whatever, 60%, and he's like, I don't have dark green, I have blue, purple, red, yellow. That means you've missed a step, you've not clicked something, you've not done something you should. The colors and the fonts are dependent on all those settings that you make, and those boxes for color change as you go. So that could be a real problem if you've missed something. Please don't email me and say, I don't have green. Because my email back to you will be, you have made a mistake. Go back and look at where it asks you to set colors, themes, fonts, those types of things in the directions, and figure out where your mistake is. So right now I'm already kind of telling you what the answer is going to be. So you're continuing to work your way on through this. You're making sure you underline when it asks you to underline. You're making sure you center, you bold, you change fonts, you change font sizes, all of those types of things as you're going along. Now you're going to get to WD31. When you look at WD31, you notice it's going to change theme colors. This is where those of you that are using 2010 or maybe even trying 2007 are going to probably have your world fall apart. This is where you're going to have to spend extra time digging through every single choice you have until you get the colors that will allow you to match the image that was found on WD3, that picture. And it's going to have to be really close. So you're going to have to work at it. You're not going to be able to just kind of pick something and say, okay, this was the 30-second fix. That's what happens if you want to save money and not buy the current program, is you're going to trade off in time and effort. So that's going to be the big thing. Now, if you're using 2013 or 365 and you go, I don't have the colors, I'm not finding it, you've made a mistake. You're going to work on through the rest of the page, and then they're going to have you format and insert a picture at WD33. I have given you all of the pictures you're going to need for the learning project here. They are in those student files for you. So you can go to the student file and find the picture. Okay. Now they do talk about how the fact you could take a picture with your digital camera, upload it, download it, something like that, put it into something. And those are things that you'll be doing in the application project. For this one, though, it's going to ask you to go on WD34 to the files and find the specific picture it's asking for, and it needs to be the exact match. Please don't put a squirrel in here or a hot air balloon or some other strange thing that shows up. It needs to be that exact mountain picture with the vehicle in it. Then you're going to kind of continue on working with following those directions with the pictures exactly. And then you're going to get over to basically WD 38, 39. It's going to have you making some changes on the picture, adding glows, adding frames, doing all of those types of things that need to be done. You skip those are points off. So you need to be sure you're following through on each and every step. Now about this time you're thinking, how long is this project going to take me? I would plan somewhere at least an hour and probably maybe even up to 2 hours. Each week, it is reasonable to expect to have 10 hours of work during the week. You don't have a lot of extra reading other than what's in Moodle and what's in the textbook itself. Most of your time will be actually spent with the hands-on projects, and there are actually multiple ones each week. This is the first one I'm talking you through right now. Again, watching for those colors and those frames, making sure you're getting all the steps and parts and pieces set up exactly how you should be. Make sure you're save very often, because if something goes wrong, you can always back up to that saved copy. If you're not saving, though, then something goes wrong and you lose it all, and then you're a really unhappy camper, to put it mildly. Then usually when you get to WD-46 in this case, they often have you revise or change something. They may have you change it and put it back. They may have you not put it back and they make changes. Often people think they're done before they are, and they don't make those changes. And sometimes those changes are saved. Therefore, you get something wrong. So make sure you work through all those steps. It's continue talking about adding text. It's talking about, moving text. It's talking about all sorts of other basically revisions you need to do with a document you actually probably thought was finished. It's not. When it gets to WD-51, it asks you to print. There's no reason for you to print. If you print, it's for your own use only. There's nothing that you will be submitting to me in a printed format. I had one student that tried to turn in a bunch of printed copies. That does not work, because I look at the electronic background of what you're doing, and I look at document settings and all sorts of different things that I don't see in a printed version. Plus, there'd be no way to get it to me because of the fact that I no longer live in the state of Oregon. So, you are going to need to get it done electronically, upload it to Moodle, and submit it through Moodle like all other work. So we're continuing to kind of putter our way through until we get to WD-54, and on that is the chapter summary. It has some good things that may help you if you're looking for something. A lot of people keep these textbooks to use later, sort of their computer Bible type of thing, and so if you're going to do that, know that you do have a computer summary at the end. Then you'll see on WD-55 we have yellow pages. It says apply your knowledge. Yep, we're going to ignore that page. Then on WD-57 it says baseball tryouts. Yep, we're going to ignore that page. We're still ignoring WD-59. We're still ignoring WD-61. But we're going to look at, consider this your turn on WD-63. Now, what we did first was a learning project that's step by step throughout the book. You just follow the pages, follow the steps, click the mouse. Now, we're going to go to consider your turn. There will be one on every chapter except for one chapter in the course. And what you are going to do is you're going to apply the knowledge. And I call it an application project. I know back on page, let me look at my page again, page WD-55, it says apply your knowledge. And that was kind of my bad. I didn't realize that that I doubled up the naming. We're not doing the apply your knowledge. This is another place for one of those big notes you're writing on your piece of paper, maybe even some highlighters right now, because what you're doing is consider this your turn, and it's a project that makes you do the applying of it. So let's talk about what that's going to look like. It says to complete these assignments, you may be required to use data files for students. You may be, you may not be. Just have to read the directions, but their data files are there for you if you are required. Also, you have 3 to choose from. Probably the first one is the easiest each time. However, if you find one that doesn't fit your interest, there's one in the Excel chapter where you have to do your own personal budget. If you don't want to give me your own personal budget information, then don't do that project. It's that simple. Don't use fake numbers and fake information, because that's just sort of useless waste of your time. So pick the one that interests you. The first one is design and create a photography club flyer. So you're going to read all the directions. I suggest you write down every required step, like if it says do this or do that. Make a note in a piece of paper that says I have to make sure my project has this, 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 so it sort of becomes a checklist. Because I have people that will do these and then not do part of the requirements, and that really hurts you grade-wise. And then the second part. The second part, I had actually had one plan, and we tried it the first term of this rewritten class, and we went, not going to work. So I had to change the directions. That's why there's a direction change in Moodle, but that may be updated since the video has been updated as well. But part 2 wants you to basically answer some questions, a Q&A. So you're going to open a Word document, and you're going to type the answers to those questions that are showing up there each and every time. So in this case, it says you made several decisions while creating the flyer of in this assignment. Where to place text, how to format text, which graphics to use, where to position graphics, how to format graphics, which page enhancements to add, what was rationale behind each of those decisions. That's a whole list to answer for each one of those. Then it says what was, when you proofread the document, what further revisions did you make and why, and how would you recommend distributing this flyer? So that means you're basically answering each and all of those questions. Now, just so this is another note to add, write it down. I don't have a word requirement on it, but probably you're talking in the most times at least 100, 150 words, up to 200 to 300 words to adequately answer the questions. This is not like, I liked it, worked for me, because I wanted to. There are your answers. No, not going to get you 20 points of credit. The application project itself is worth 30. The question and answer is worth 20. So it's a 50-point project. It's going to kill your grade not to do well on it. It's going to kill your grade worse not to do it. And just so you know, you have to pass one application project. Let me say that sentence again. One application project for each topic. i.e., at least one for Word, at least one for PowerPoint, at least one for Excel, because if you don't, you will fail the class. So, learning projects are 20, application projects are 50. One application project must be passed from each area. The next option you have is design and create a hot air balloon rides flyer. So you can go through, read that step by step. The last project you have is back on WD64. It is a design and create a water park flyer. However, it requires you to do a lot of research. It also talks about doing it as a team, and you are not working as a team. You are the team. So if it says, oh, one person does this and one person does that, that's you each time. You are that one person for all of them. That's probably the most work of any of the 3 of the projects, so you may not want to do it. So far you have to turn in a learning project, step by step from the book. So far you have to turn in an application project. It is also from the book. It's back on this section, this yellow, that says consider this your turn. It's a 50-point project. You have one other project to turn in. This one cannot be turned in late at any point for any reason. And it's a reflection. It has to be done last because you cannot reflect on something that you have not done yet. Basically, it requires 150 or more words, and you're to discuss this week's assignment. It does have a set up format, and the format is 1, to give you some guidance, and 2, to keep things kind of structured so I'm getting the information. Sometimes people say, well, why do you ask for it in this format? I ask for it in this format because I like the results I get from this format. If I just say, tell me 150 words about what you thought this week, I don't get the same quality of responses as I do with this format. So tell me 3 things you learned. Just list them out. Then use a space so it doesn't just like pile all together. And then tell me 2 questions you still have, or 2 things you wonder about. Sometimes I'll answer your questions, sometimes I won't, just depending on what the questions are. But I do try to respond at least in some way to each one of these postings. This is going to be written in Word and then copied and pasted most likely into the area in Moodle to upload it. You could type it directly into Moodle, but you're just going to have to decide which way you want to do it. If you type it directly into Moodle and something happens, like you hit a wrong key, you could lose it all and get to start over. That's why I suggest often just do it in Word and then copy and paste. Then add a few returns so I don't just get one huge block of text, which is hard to read. Then you're going to tell me 1 way that you can apply what you were learning this week. It could be professional in your job currently. It could be how you think you're going to apply it in a future job, or it could be something that you're going to use right here and right now because you can see it's going to apply this week, this month, this term for you. Or it might even be a statement of something like, I wish I'd known this when I did XYZ because it would have saved me so much time. So those are basically what you're looking at. The grading rubric is right there, and you can pretty well read through that. And then you're going to add submissions. This is where basically you're going to get that text box to enter it in. If you're copying from Word, please do not just give me one blob of text. That makes it really hard for me to read. Put some spaces between each question. I mean, make it look like a college quality assignment. Now, the last thing you have there for possibility here when we get back over to our week is the upload of extra credit. So let's talk a little bit about what is extra credit for this class. First, there's a link that says there's an extra credit assignment so that you have a way to do that and get some more information. But if you go back on the yellow pages to WD 58, you will see it says in the labs. Only the in the labs are accepted as extra credit assignments. If you do something other than what's assigned, it is not extra credit and it's not accepted as extra credit. If you upload something in the wrong spot, let's say you upload your lab extra credit in your application project, it does not get extra credit there. That's not where it belongs. You are going to be told you have to move it so that you get it in the correct place. So make sure you're reading. Learning project, that's the step-by-step textbook. Application project, that's in the back of each chapter. That's the consider this your turn. And it must have 2 files, both the project and the question and answer file. Your reflection journal is just that. It's a reflection that you're going to type maybe on screen in Moodle or maybe in Word and copy and paste in, putting appropriate spacings in so you don't turn in a blob of text. And then you have your extra credit link if you choose to do extra credit. If you're interested in more information about extra credit, please scroll up in Moodle till you get to the top, because up here there is going to be information about extra credit. Please make sure you read all the information. Just a reminder, if for any reason you have late work and you need to check the late work policy, please make sure you are checking that so you're doing it correctly. Hopefully at this point you have a whole pile of notes that will help you through each week, because this will be our format from each week forward, and I'm not going to do this much in-depth information. I will go through each project and each book. I will tell you page numbers. I will tell you kind of directions, but I will not spend the time you've had this time. So worst comes to worst, you may have to come back and listen to this whole video again. So hope this has helped you.